Hi again, this is Carl with Hayward In The Loop. I'm here today at the corner of Main and B Street in downtown Hayward. I'm here to tell you about today a project of the city of Hayward called the Main Street Complete Streets Project. This is where the city is planning to redo Main Street. This project covers 5 blocks of Main Street, starting from D Street, going down C, B, A, and then all the way down to McKeever Avenue. Some of the goals of the project is to reduce the number of car lanes down from 2 lanes in each direction to 1 lane in each direction, to also extend the sidewalks and to include bike lanes. Being a biker myself, I thought, well, this will be great. I would love to see bike lanes along Main Street. However, I'm not really all that happy with their plan, and I'll tell you why. For option 1, the plan is to add a bike lane right here and then have parallel parking to its side with the bike lane in between the parking and the main sidewalk. In plan number 2, they would like to extend the sidewalk out 7 feet more, then have parallel parking, and then have a bike lane, and then a single lane for the automobiles. In both the options that they give us, they would like to extend the existing sidewalk, which is currently 10 feet wide, to either 15 feet wide or 17 feet wide. Personally, I think 10 feet wide as it is right now is wide enough. Personally, I actually think that they ought to put diagonal parking here. I think that would be a great improvement, and I would much prefer to have diagonal parking over parallel parking, especially in their second plan where they plan to have the bike lanes right next to the cars. I ride my bike around a lot, and I mean, it's better than no bike lane, but I can tell you when riding my bike down a road and when there's cars parked parallel to me onto the side, sometimes people who are in their cars, they don't always look when they're exiting their cars, and so you always have to watch out for driver's side opening the door right into your bike lane. And also, a lot of cars actually do not know how to parallel park correctly. They won't park close enough to the curb, and they will have their car parked right over the bike lane and be in my way. And then there's other cases where trucks park along the road and they're really wide and they cross right over the bike lane. So I actually don't like option number 2 very much. And I'll show you an example of another road, Meekland Road, which I frequently ride my bike down, just to show you exactly what I mean by that. Here I am on Meekland Avenue, and I'm here to show you what I mean by cars being in the way of the bike lanes. So that shows you one of the problems of having a bike lane alongside a parallel parking where the bike lane is in between the road and the cars. However, in the other option number 1, where the plan is to put the bike lane in between the parking and the sidewalk, that's not actually the best solution either. You see, at least the nice thing about having the bike lane alongside the road is that you can make a left turn rather easily. However, if you put the bike lane between the parking and the sidewalk, then it's more difficult to make a left turn. So there's pros and cons for both options. Personally, I think option number 3, having diagonal parking, would actually be the best option in that, one, you actually get to avoid the problem of riding a bike alongside parallel parking, and 2, you can also more easily make left turns. So option number 3, diagonal parking, is actually the better option for bikers. Now I wanted to show you this area. This is down Main Street near the McKeever end. This is the old Brigham College, and at this site, this is going to get torn down, and in this place will be built what's called the Maple and Main project, which is a large apartment condominium project for housing here, and it's already been approved. I really don't see why we need to extend the sidewalk anymore, at least in this area. I mean, look at this. It's a pretty wide sidewalk already. There isn't any trouble going down this road. Why do they need to extend the sidewalk? So the reason why I'm bringing up the Maple and Main project is because once this place is built, there might be not a lot of visitor parking, and so the people who live there, or maybe if they have a second or third car, which is not really a good idea, but these days multiple people live in a household, and that happens. So what I'm thinking though is that the cars might actually overflow out into the streets and might fill up parking in the downtown area. So maybe there might actually be a good reason to have a little bit of additional parking here. I know some people disagree with me and think we should actually reduce our parking spots, but this is Hayward, and people use their cars here. Now you may be thinking, well, aren't we trying to reduce our car use? And yes, I agree. I'm all for reducing car use. In fact, I don't drive a car much anymore either. I ride my bike everywhere. And so this is why I like bike lanes. But you really can't get everywhere without a car. I haven't driven a car for the last 6 months, and I've only got one grocery shop I can really shop at these days. And I know I can understand why some people would like a car. But the thing is, I think what we really should be focusing on is the transition to electric vehicles in order to reduce carbon emissions, and not necessarily car use. So I think it might be a good idea to actually have the diagonal parking along this route. The question I have for the city planners regarding these two plans is, what problem are they trying to solve by extending the sidewalk from 10 feet, which is already quite wide as it is, to 15 or 17 feet? I really don't see the reasoning behind that. Like, what's the purpose of extending the sidewalk? Do they think that people are going to have, seating, like outdoor restaurants out on the sidewalk? But the problem with that idea is that there aren't restaurants all along this road. There's only maybe a few. If we had diagonal parking, we could extend the sidewalk. We just wouldn't have parking spots right in front of those restaurants or shops. And then you can actually have more space that comes out in the middle of the road, kind of like on B Street. And I actually think the B Street, the way that that's arranged, is actually ideal for Main Street as well. Let me show you what it looks like. So here we're at the bistro, and this is an outdoor seating area. As you can tell, there's plenty of room for outdoor seating. And this is what diagonal parking looks like. Personally, I much prefer diagonal parking over parallel parking. For one thing, it's much easier to park. With parallel parking, you have to figure out how to parallel park. I mean, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it isn't. And if you have the space along the road, why not? It's much more enjoyable. I like it right here down on B Street. So why isn't the city considering diagonal parking along Main Street? Well, I went to a town hall earlier this year in January, and I suggested it to them. They actually gave us 3 plans to choose from, but none of them include diagonal parking. And a number of people who attended the town hall, they said, hey, what about diagonal parking? Why isn't that one of the options? And they didn't give it to us. So now it's June, and now they are providing us with only 2 options. They took out one of the options from back in January, and unfortunately, neither of the 2 options that they're giving us include diagonal parking. Why is that? I think it's not a good idea. I think they need to make diagonal parking along Main Street a priority. And they could do it. There's plenty of space for it. I really don't see any reason to extend the sidewalk any. 10 feet is plenty wide already. They don't need to extend it to 15 feet. And why not put diagonal parking in? You can still include bike lanes. Oh, I'm a bike rider. I want the bike lanes. But you can put the bike lanes in between the parking spots and the road. And you could have your automobile lanes, one in each direction. And, I think it works for a lot of people. It works for me as a biker. I could tell you one thing. Having bike lanes go along the street with the cars parallel parked along the right side of the bike lane, where the bike lane's in between the car lane and the bike and the parking. Like I said, it's not really, it's okay, but it's not great. And if instead you had the bike lanes in between the road and diagonal parking spots, it's actually much easier for bikers to ride down the road. And the reason for that is because basically, one, you don't have to worry about drivers suddenly opening their driver's side doors right into your bike lane. And 2, you don't have to worry about cars or extra wide vehicles such as trucks to be over the bike lane, or other people who don't actually park close enough to the curb. If you have diagonal parking, you don't have to worry about any of that. And as a biker, I can immediately see when a car begins to go in reverse to exit the diagonal parking spot, because the car's rear view lights are on. And so I can see that and brake adequately before the car comes out. And so for me as a biker, I find it much more beneficial riding alongside diagonal parking spots than parallel parking spots. So for me it's good. For a biker, for a car driver it's good because the parking's easier. There's more parking spots for downtown area. You don't have to worry about us running out of spots, especially when we have a new housing complex that's going to be put in at Maple and Main, and with the potential of people who are living there who are overflowing the roads with their vehicles. At least we can relieve some of that. So I think it's a plus for both. So let's consider diagonal parking. We have another meeting. It's over Zoom at Monday at 4 p.m. If you could call in and let the city know your views and tell them, hey, I want diagonal parking. I don't want these plans that you're giving us. Please listen to the people. A lot of people I've talked to said that they agree with me. And so far, I don't think they're really listening to us. So please call in and let them know your views. Thank you. So I'm providing links in the comments below to details about the plan, and also a link to the page that will let you know when the next upcoming meeting is. Please join the meeting and let the city know what you think. Also, please stay tuned to my next video where I will talk about B Street once again. And this time I would like to share with you my plan for how we can add bike lanes along B Street. Also, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.